Greetings, fellow investigators, and welcome to our video podcast, Into the Darkness, where, for a change, my friends and I will attempt to write a complete scenario for the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. Please consider me your host, Tom Rayleigh. Last week, we came up with the roots of an interesting story involving the Sand Dwellers living under South Dakota. We also received a number of comments. Let me go ahead and read some of them to you. From Psycho Sven 69. He says, interesting concept, although abandoned mines have been done to death, I feel. Also, present-day Shicha Hollow State Park is only about 900 acres, not much of a forest. You would have to be blind and in a wheelchair to get lost in that shrubbery. Okay. Our Naken says, just a suggestion, the locals claim the area is cursed due to desecration, a piece stolen of a sacred object. If the party recovers the object by cat burglary or armed robbery, the curse will be lifted, but unbeknownst to the party, the finished object can summon whatever Cthulhu mythos creature you choose, the choice being the curse or the creature or both. The party can still destroy the temple if they find it, but then the curse will remain. And one more, Anamarcus says, I think your plans need a few money shots, key creepy moments to give the scenario an emotional dimension. How do you scare the shit out of your players during this game? These moments are what the players will remember from the game. Remember, and he puts quotes, remember the time that we were in the dark and that cold hand grabbed your ankle, unquote. So what do we think? Some of it seems a little to me like it's just adding more stuff that we're trying to pare down.
Right. We're saying last week a lot, a lot of too many good ideas. The thing with the artifact, I think, would add just, it's another good idea, kind of waters everything down. It's a good idea. It would make for an interesting scenario, but it's good enough, restoring the artifact that's cursing people is good enough of an idea to be a scenario to itself.
Now, Tyler did write me. Tyler's having trouble connecting tonight, so he might not be here. He did write me and say that there was a problem using Golgoroth. So instead of Golgoroth, we're going to use something else. We haven't quite decided yet, but it could be Tsathoga or something like that. Something that makes sense for this scenario, or we'll make one up.
And for that first comment, that state park might be small now, but in what did we say the date was? 1923, it was pretty much untouched land. People were moving west, yes, but I mean, you still had the base of population on the both coasts. People hadn't moved in. I mean, there were people, but not like there is now.
Fargo would probably been the largest city nearby.
And people were disappearing from this area due to the sand creatures, so nobody would be around there anyway.
Right. And to the comment of, abandoned mines being a cliche and overused, they work, like it's tried and true. I think they're going to keep using. I mean, I'm an actor. I'm in the film industry, and I could find 10,000 films that are all based in the same thing. Yet they're popular. People enjoy them because it's a known method that works. People enjoy it. They've just used abandoned mines in the Sabrina TV show. Where there's this creepy stuff down there.
Sure.
Just because something's used a lot doesn't mean it's necessarily a bad thing.
If it's used a lot, that's why it's a classic. Haunted houses are done to death too. Zombies are done to death too. Vampire, because people love them. Because because they work. And also getting back to the South Dakota, that the actual place is really small. The actual place doesn't have sand dwellers in it, and ours does. So obviously, we're not writing about the actual place.
Well, and we can also rationalize that Sicha Hollow is the center of a much larger, wilder area that only the American Indians have spent much time in, except for our little town, which we have to come up with a name for.
Yep.
I put just a tiny little scrap of things together, just a handful of paragraphs over the course of the week. I think I gave the town a name in that. Just give me a second.
I got it right here. West Haven?
West Haven, yeah.
West Haven sounds like a place down the street from where we are. What's kind of a boom town name? You know,
Doing a search towns in South Dakota.
give it a name like Prosperity.
Yeah, because it was founded.
Prosperity.
Now, was the town founded in 1885, or was that just when it was destroyed? I think. So then you could say with maybe 1860, 1865 it was founded?
Yeah. After the Civil War.
Right.
We're talking about the town the investigators
no.
are in, right? Or are we talking about the ghost town?
We're talking about Ghost Town.
Ghost Town, yeah. No, the town that they're going to do some investigating in, that could work that would have to be a normal name.
Well, I think the way we were talking about the ghost town being something that we like discovered, like it's not necessarily a super known thing that it's there.
Correct.
Well, it could either be unnamed, in other words, the sign as you're going into the town is no longer existing. Or they could find the remnants of the sign. You know, maybe it's a part of a name or something.
Well, and it could also be on the, I don't know, not to say marquee, but like the signs.
Gonna have
something general store, blah, blah, you know. Pine Box General Store, whatever.
These are details.
But we do have to name the town where the hotel is and the police station or doctor or whatever we're going to use.
I think the West whatever he came
West
up with.
Haven?
Yeah. And I say we name the ghost town, you know, Jason's Hold. You came up with the idea for a ghost town. Let's name it after you.
Okay.
All right. If you want, that works.
Well, that means that the person who founded it, name's Jason.
His name's Jason.
But it's...
Oh, we could even make the old cannibal Cretan guy Jason.
Yeah.
That works.
Well, that brings me back to, I think I suggested that in the last one, is like, you know, using some of the Into the Darkness players as bases for the characters, like inspiration.
I'll be a creepy cannibal.
He calls himself after the name of the town that he hangs out.
I have encountered that too in some of our.
Well, no, we decided that the cannibal is actually going to be using cannibal magic to extend his life. He's the sole survivor of the Sand Dweller massacre.
Yeah.
Cannibal magic?
There's a lot of spells in the Grand Grimoire that extend your life through cannibalism. There's way more than one. I think there's 2 or 3.
He was warned not to bring people into the area, so he founded the town and brought people in, and then they all got massacred.
And the Sand Dwellers kept him alive, so we would have to live with it. And then over the decades, he just kind of became one of them.
I threw something in the chat earlier while I was at work, so I wouldn't forget. Now, the food and everything spoils pretty quickly because of the curse. I was thinking if the investigators stumble on the cannibal's cabin, there'd be some nice meat in the cabin. There's no signs of the bones, so that's the only good meat around. So if they chow down, then later on find out he's a cannibal, that could be a good sanity check for them too, because they've ingested human.
The sweetest, tenderest meat they've ever tasted.
And I mean, if they find bones of the people who used to live in the town, there's going to be like human bite marks or gnaw marks on the bone.
Yeah.
Which will lead them sort of to believe that they're ghouls that we're dealing with. Also, I think the spoiling of food is an interesting thing because in a day and age when you didn't have refrigeration, well, not in South Dakota in the middle of nowhere, then
but we're going to be in November, so it's going to be really, really cold anyway.
I like the idea of it being winter though as well, because like I just like look back to things like the Quentin Tarantino movie Hateful Eight. I love that whole setting with all the cowboys and just the snowstorms. I think that adds a lot to the scenario. If it's like the weather is another element that these players have to compete with, of like, well, we can't go out like just rummaging over the land that much because the weather's shit.
Right, we'll die.
If you look at the flow chart, which you haven't talked about, I actually have Snowstorm as an event in like about probably the third act.
Right.
So I definitely think that we should have the weather and the environment be an encounter. Agreed.
And that could force any of the guides, or if any of the player characters are playing like the cowboy-esque, to use horses, because
you're going to seize up those engines. Exactly.
And the wheels will just slip on the ice. They won't get through it, but the horses or a mule or a donkey will.
Right. And even if there was a little bit of mud before the storm, they'll be fucking rooted into the mud. I mean, it could be spring before they get those tires out. I mean, we can really isolate these people using weather.
Mm.
And if they primarily went on foot, they'll die before they can walk back. I mean, they literally could die just trying to get back to the town.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, how do we scare people? That's how we scare people.
Isolation.
And that'll also, that will, if we have the weather like that and the storms and that again is going to point people towards Ithaca.
Right.
And then you have the combination of, they don't know, there's several things that are they ghouls, is it Ithaca, and now they're trapped in the snow, and depending on where the snowstorm hits, based on your flow chart here, Oscar, after they've already encountered the cannibal, things are kind of going wrong, and now they're kind of stranded out here, with a madman.
Mm.
And who knows what
and
else.
Maybe they have to take cover in the old town, to get away from the storm.
That's what I was going to say. That makes the old mines even more appealing, getting out of the weather.
Mm.
Well, yes and no. Mines don't get warm.
But we can say that the mines do have supplies of coal.
And I mean, it's cover from the snow.
The elements, yeah.
Yeah. Once you get far enough down in the mine, it's going to be 54 degrees. It's going to stay at 54 because that's naturally what it is down in.
And if they have equipment to start a fire, they can always start a fire. And, like a little...
And there could even be like old, dried out boxes and stuff, old rags, like mining equipment boxes. There's always a way to start a fire.
Mm.
Starting a fire in a mine is not such a great idea. But.
Yeah, but when it's...
We're great in Silent Hill.
Negative 30 degrees above ground, or 30 degrees, whatever. Like the wind is whipping, snow's falling, you're wet.
All right, I think we need to talk about one of the big climactic decisions. If they go into the cave system and find the temple, the Sand Dwellers are going to try and summon their god. So it'll be that moment where they're chanting, the players are shooting. Can they kill enough of the Sand Dwellers fast enough before their god shows up? Let's say their god shows up. Do we want a small grade old one that a group of well-armed investigators has a fighting chance against, or a big grade old one that's going to just destroy, that they've got no shot? It's endgame. When it shows up, rocks fall, people die.
I've got to admit, I kind of prefer, I think my headspace right now, I do prefer that to be, they summon it and it's something that's just like, fuck. That's where I'm leaning towards. I can appreciate if you guys are leaning more towards let's give them something manageable to defeat.
I am in the opposite. I think not because of the fighting it, but because I just don't think that the sand dwellers could summon a great old one. I mean, why wouldn't they have done it already to take over the world or something? So
why would they need to take over the world? This is their world. They're primitive. They're happy in their cave. They're happy with their temple. They've got their niche.
Well, then you could also say, what does the great old one? Why would he notice what they're doing? Maybe
because they feed him every once in a while.
Well, he'd send him a servitor, something lesser. I don't know. What do you guys?
I go with the lesser great old one. So not for a fighting chance, but just I think it would be a little more balanced to the story.
What if we made it a percentile choice? That if they get a critical success if the GM gets a critical success, then it's a great old one. If otherwise, the great old one just sends a servitor.
GMs never
really like that.
They just pick what they want. Whatever's serving the narrative at that point.
So you could do some as you pick something real nasty, and then you have that option if you want your players the opportunity to survive. Say it is an ongoing campaign that they've dropped this story in. We
can leave it up to the individual keeper. We can give stats for both deities.
Yeah.
So if the keeper wishes, to run it more pulpy, if the keeper, we can basically say pulp climax, purist climax. Pulp climax is they've got a fighting chance with guns and sticks of dynamite. Purist is, you've got no chance.
Yeah.
So, I mean, really, it's just inserting 2 stat blocks and 3 lines of text.
But that is I think that is my one thing is I don't want, even if the one with the pulpy, like you've got a chance, I want it to, not to be too easy for them to defeat it as well.
I agree.
None of these people are going to be like soldiers or police officers. Right. These are archaeologists, maybe some trail guides, some paleontologists, and a film crew. It's not like we've got a commando squad or a band of Delta Green agents going in. They may have a few firearms, but they're not going to have, you're not going to have an archaeologist with a Tommy gun and a cinematographer with a double barrel shotgun.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking the trail guy.
Those characters are jerks because they shouldn't have that stuff.
Right.
Because again, these aren't investigators. These are the people looking, they're falling into this.
Yeah, I'm thinking the trail guides might have a revolver or 2, maybe a rifle in case there was Winchester. A bear or some sort of wild animal, but nothing major.
One of my favorites has always been Sathugya because he comes across to me as a big fat lazy frog, and they would start shooting at him, and he would be like annoyed,
What about this one? I just put it in the chat. It's I don't know how to pronounce that. Nope.
Which one?
Nopkesh. That's a monster, not a great old one.
Really, is that the one with the big horn?
Because he could bring snowstorms. He can do, that's why.
It's going to be those things are very identifiable with all the Ithaqua stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. Because the other option, as we said from the beginning, is create our own one. We can create our own mythos creature that, whatever.
Yeah, it could just be a thing that comes out of the gate and attacks.
Like the Thing.
What
from John Carpenter's The Thing.
What about, you said that the sand dwellers, and you said you found bones. What if there's some sort of lost world down there, like a T-Rex or something, where it's too much going on?
There's too much going on.
Too many good ideas.
It would work in some stories, yeah, definitely.
We really don't need to pick. If we're going to say a weak one, a strong one, we can wait until whoever's writing the climax to make that final decision. I really don't want to get hung up on these Act 5 details when we haven't even divvied up who's writing what.
I think I like the idea. I like the idea of having the option of having a greater one coming, but most likely he'll send a servitor of some sort that will take care of them and drag them back screaming to him where he can eat them or something like that.
You know, I like the option.
So, and the reason why we've set aside Golgoroth because we don't have copyright to use that name, so we won't use that one.
And thanks to Tyler for reaching out to.
Give me some research. Excellent research. Which also means it doesn't have to be Hungarian. So we can,
Right, we're not making him Hungarian.
we can make him.
Are we going to make him the founder of the town then, correct?
Yep.
Is he the founder, or is he just someone?
No, he's the guy who discovered the mine, and invited all of these people and set up the town. He was mayor.
Just on that, because it's just popped into my head, that pretty much is the scenario of the migration.
No.
Not quite.
Guy discovers the town, opens the mine, then disappears.
No, because nobody knows that this town exists.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but I'm just
It's a
saying that the bulk
wildcat
of it,
mining town.
you know.
Right, and the migration is about the main point of that is they're investigating the caribou disappearance, and that leads to a totally different investigation chain than what we're looking into, which depends on what the characters are. But
No, I'm just saying, like, you know, founder of the town, kind of.
Well, he does not
starting a town and then opening mines.
The founder disappeared. Everybody knows the whole town.
There's always somebody who started this whole process. So I think that it's different enough, but I can see some of the parallels you're talking.
Well, he doesn't have to be the founder. The whole thing is that he should have been dead 40 years ago. He's still alive.
Right.
So he was around. He lived in the town when it was founded. Not that he was a founder. He was one of the first settlers of the town. Boom. So he should have been dead. And he's a cannibal, and he was doing some kind of
cannibal magic. Yeah,
right.
We were going to make the town named Jason's Hold, and I was thinking, what if Jason's the last name, and we make his first name Mel? Mel.
That works.
Jason Mel, the check.
Right, but then when you get this the whole town's name is Jason Hold, and they're like, wait a second, then we need to meet crazy guy who had the same name.
Well, he'll say his name is Mel.
Oh, that's true.
And then you'll find out Mel what? Mel Jason.
But we mentioned it in the whatever clue they find in the ghost town.
In his diary or somebody's diary.
You could name the town whatever. It's not really that important, but the cannibal being named Jason, I'll go with that. I like that idea a lot.
Okay, so what's next? What are we going to look at?
Let's bring up the chart.
All right, I think that, who is going to be doing the physical writing for this?
Tyler was going to work on that, and I think that Morgan wrote out a really nice little concise thing here.
All right, I think with the flow chart, if we all agree that this is going to be our outline, with the flow chart, you can actually do a pretty decent outline of the sections that need to be written.
Just before we keep going, guys, I do have to run. Unfortunately, I've got to go to a dinner meeting. But everything so far, I like the bits we've added and what we're trying to come up with. And I will see you at the next one, hopefully.
Got it. See you later.
See you
later.
Here. So Zane's going to write the whole thing, right? Zane's going to write the whole thing.
Right.
Easy. Done. All right.
He just said yes. You're right. He agreed the second he left.
There are some distinct sections. You have the first part of getting the characters to the place. You have the town itself. You have that initial kind of wilderness section, and the snowstorm hit, the ghost town, the mines, and then the climax. So there are some definite.
Now, I have a question. Do all the investigators meet at the hotel and decide to go out together? Do they know each other before?
Some of them are going to come together. Like, probably there's going to be 2 members of the film crew, 2 members of the paleo team, and we're going to say that there are 2 area guides. And when I say area, I mean they're from South Dakota, but they may not live within 100 miles of here. And we can say that both the film crew and the paleontologists hired one of these guys.
And they know each other, let's say, possibly?
They would know each other by reputation. Because how many wilderness guides are there working in South Dakota.
Right. Okay. So that's
We
going to
can
be the
even say
link.
that they're rivals.
That's a good idea.
That'll kind of be up to the players, though, right?
Right.
Um,
Right. When they form their characters.
And won't it make
No.
the most sense that the film crew is tagging along with the paleontologists because they don't want to go out there all by themselves?
It makes sense for them to work together once they all get together. Because they'll both be like, well, we've got friends that are missing too. And they're like, well, we wanted to take a look around. We're looking for this ghost town. Well, why don't we stick together and, because we're both exploring the same area.
You could even put in a player note to one of the paleontologists saying, well, if they could get this discovery on film,
right,
he'd be famous. So they talk to the camera crew, hey, if we find this such and such bone out here, let's film it. You'll be famous for taking the film. I'll be famous for the discovery, and we'll have proof of finding it on film.
And remember, they were shooting stock footage. So
Right.
like, hey, we can get some stock footage of archaeologists, paleontologists digging. We could probably sell that to something. So again, it's all within their bailiwick.
You could set up some fun with the players by telling the film crew that they're going to tell the paleontologists that they're going to document what they're doing, but they're really going out there to scout for a movie. And
so that way it all kind of meshes.
Yeah, that'll be all up to the players.
Cool.
Yeah, I do like the idea of mixing those groups together instead of like all the players are one thing or the other thing.
So I'm willing between now and next session to turn the flow chart into a bullet point outline of 5 acts.
Okay.
I'm not going to write any of them, but I can set up a framework so that people I like these sections, and then we can have everyone write the sections they want who are part of the writing team, and then at the back end, I would be willing to go in and read it as an editor and find out if people have really stepped on each other or kind of veered off course to kind of bring it back under control with an edit.
Now, this five acts, will that be, how many scenarios will that
Probably
be?
One big scenario.
Right.
No, I mean, not scenario,
okay,
sessions.
Okay, so let's say Act 1 is everything leading up to the motel. They gather, they look for clues, they figure out what's going on, and they decide what to do. Now, the top part of the flow chart, from notes and clues all the way to Crazy Cannibal, will be part 2, because that's one entire clue trail leading to where the 2 clue trails rejoin. Part 3 will be the one right below it. So basically, they can, from the motel, they can go into the wilderness and not go to town. They can go to town, find the map, the old library, and again, they'll waffle between. But we have, the clue thread from the town where they get the map, and the clue thread where they get the journal of the archaeologists, and they know some of their dig sites where I have dead end, dead end, dead end. These were places that the players have on a journal that they can look into. So crazy, everything from Crazy Cannibal to Ghost Town would be Act 4. And again, when Act 2 and 3, there's going to be waffling between them and some interaction. They may go to the town and then decide, well, we're not going to follow the map. We're going to follow the journal from the archaeologists. So part 2 and 3 may weave together like snakes. They may look for both the team and the ghost town at the same time. And again, ruined camps, Native American warning, animal attack, those are things that happen in both parts.
Okay.
So Act 4, we have everything from Crazy Cannibal to Ghost Town. And Act 5 is where they get attacked at the ruins, and that could be the end. If they survive the attack and go and explore the mines, they're in the mines. If they keep pressing, they find the caves. If they keep pressing, they find the temple. Now, some groups may get to the first half hour of part 5 and say, fuck this, and leave. Those will be the smart ones.
Yep.
Most groups are going to go all the way to the end because they figure it's a one-shot, I'm never playing this character again. Why not? That's fine. They can do whatever they want. That's the way I'm kind of envisioning the chapters. And again, when I say parts, like part 2 and 3 could be run with the characters hopping from elements of 2 and elements of 3.
Right. It's not linear. It's not linear. It's
we don't want to ride a railroad. Modern players hate that.
Right.
All right.
I just have it divided by clue trail. This is the archaeology path. This is the map path.
I'm looking at my portion of it, which would be cartography. We want the motel. We want the library, maybe.
Well, the large town. The library will be in the town.
Large town. We want the map, obviously, if they decide to go.
To go back a little bit, the large town will have library, doctor, horse rental, garage, and general store.
Yeah, I see that.
And then they find the old map from the library, and that leads them into the wilderness.
Right. And then we'll have the ghost town.
Crazy Cannibal Shack.
Crazy Cannibal Shack.
But again, he'll seek them out. He'll find them wherever they are.
The haunted mine, the cavern system, and the temple. Cool.
The ruined camp?
That's where the ruined camp will be, where the archaeologists were slaughtered.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, that's a bunch of just bloodied tents, things knocked over, gun, like bullet stuff.
And we can say it looks like some of them were dragged away.
Mm-hmm. I'm not sure exactly what you would map there, like a bunch of destroyed tents, but
bodies torn up and and tents.
No bodies, because they were either taken by the cannibal, and we know where they are, or they were taken by the sand dwellers, and they're now in the temple waiting their turn.
Now, is it creepier that the camp would be demolished, or that it would be in perfect condition and they would all be gone?
There would be some sand dwellers are not very sand dwellers, and crazy cannibals are not known for their finesse. Yeah. They're not. We're not talking ninjas here.
and we
even
also have to do the hollow itself. Yeah, that's part of the map. All right, cool. So I know what I'm doing.
All right, I will. What I'm doing is I've done the flow chart. I will do the outline, and I will give this a rough edit to check for consistencies once it's written.
Cool.
Well, and I am going to primarily be doing a lot of writing, so.
Yeah.
Now, Tom, did you wanted me to be doing the character sheets for like the NPCs, or what else do you want me to work on?
That's not a bad idea. If we create.
That's a lot of work that'll save the writing staff a lot of time.
Yeah, suggested.
I would appreciate that.
You could stat out the sand dwellers, whatever animal encounter you want to do. Find out what dangerous animals are active in winter in South Dakota. Wolverine, cougar, bear. I don't know what's out there, but I'm sure it ain't good. Stat out the crazy cannibal, NPCs for the motel staff, garage owner, horse rental guy, the town doctor, the librarian. And if we want to branch out the librarian, say that they can get the map at the library or the newspaper. Because if they fuck up their role somewhere else, we want to give them another chance to get the map. So
Now, how about how are the Native Americans going to play this? I see Native American warnings.
Right, they're the ones like, oh, don't, they don't want them to go off into the wilderness because they're like, it's dangerous, don't go there.
they're gonna ride up. I think this guy's gonna ride up and say, hey, can we talk to you for a few minutes? We've got a camp nearby. We've got some coffee brewing. And then they'd be like, look, there's a reason we don't go here. It's because it's dangerous. And, we can't stop you. But in good conscience, we just can't let you go without at least
warning you.
Yeah. We've warned other people before. They haven't listened to us. Go look, and we don't know what's happened to them. But we had nothing to do with it. Because again, they're going to think, well, white people go missing, they're going to blame the Indians.
And you could even have, if they talk to the local authorities, they could say, oh, we looked into the natives. Maybe they did something, but we don't have proof to kind of make them, you got to have a plausible explanation.
Well,
People
we
aren't.
talked about this last time. You don't have to even go that far as to like level such an accusation at them, but they might have there might be some like police complaints filed maybe by the archaeological team that disappeared, where they're like, these people keep harassing us. Like,
I would say we turn it on its head and have the local sheriff actually get along with the natives here.
Yeah.
Look, say, look, every time someone's gone missing, they've helped us search, and several times they've actually found somebody. We've never had problems with these people.
Right.
Okay.
So,
Good.
And basically, so the players are almost expecting the stereotypical, bigoted local sheriff, and he's actually like, no, we both grew up in this area.
Fine, I know him.
I've known the head of their community for 20 years.
Yeah, don't they have great coffee or whatever?
I think,
and it would be a surprise, I think, for the players.
I like that.
I
really
think too,
like
when
that.
you consider the limited area that we're dealing with here,
Right.
it's probably a sheriff and 2 deputies at the most.
We could say a sheriff and 2 deputies, one of whom is a half-breed, one of whom is half-Indian.
You could.
And, and just
That's been done a lot, but yeah, that works.
All right, so maybe we don't do that if that's
Andy, you got Andy Taylor and Barney Fife, and they're
or like the sheriff's kid is the second deputy, or one. They're all on vacation conveniently,
and his wife's the secretary.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's an interesting idea. Make everybody nice.
Yeah, and just say, look, we never had any problems till these Easterners came out here.
Yeah.
Poking around looking for bones.
Yeah, all these tenderfoots and greenhorns in town.
Right. The you got the loonies from California, and you got the loonies from Chicago. I'm going to say University of Chicago because they had a great paleontology program. They did a lot of the dinosaur hunting in the Old West.
Well, they're Miskatonic.
Yeah, so they really have like an archaeology program, though?
Well, they had they sent things to Antarctica to survey stuff, and
but not in 1923. No, it's
1930.
I would say University of Chicago.
Okay.
Just because they've got the tradition of Museum of Natural History, Columbia.
That's true.
The 2 places in the United States that have the best fossils are Chicago and Manhattan and New York. And these were fossils that were found in the 20s, in the the teens, in the 20s and the 30s.
Excellent.
That works.
All right. It's only 6:40, but is there anything else? We don't have to have 2-hour-long sessions for this.
That is true. Just a note about the person talking about those money shots. We're talking about getting trapped in the snow is pretty creepy.
Well, I had originally had the idea that
we've got the animal attack for a little bit of a little bit of early tension and action. We have the creepy cannibal. We have getting stuck in the snowstorm. And then when we do the food rotting, when we get to the haunted area, we're going to be doing voices and your tracks being erased behind you.
Mm-hmm.
Compasses just spinning endlessly. If they did have a car, they don't have a car anymore because of the snowstorm and they're trapped.
Low power rolls bring the howling of the wind. Sounds like people they know calling to them.
I mean, and we can say by giving the Sand Dwellers a few very basic spells, or the Cannibal a few very basic spells, we can have people who are sleeping out, plagued by nightmares, hallucinations, all sorts of stuff with just simple folk magic. Ghost Town's going to be creepy. Again, we could add real ghosts, but I think it's too many good ideas. So no real ghosts in the Ghost Town. I think with the Sand Dwellers, we're good.
Them eating human flesh, possibly.
It's been done, and characters see it coming a mile away.
Oh, look! There's some delicious steaks just sitting there waiting for us.
Yeah.
And it says, "Eat me."
No, I wouldn't go that far.
No, I think the best way that I've ever seen is that they really disguise it like well. There's
The only way to do it is if they come upon the cannibal, and he's like, "Hey, I was just reheating some stew."
I was
There's
gonna
plenty.
say, the Horror Cosmo. There's a scenario that's the Rats in the Wall guys back in ancient Rome, and they do that really, really well with the players. Like, wait a second, what did we eat at this guy's house? Like 2/3 of the way through the
It's
scenario.
really hard to do it well. It's really hard to get that because players see that coming a mile away.
Yeah. All right, gentlemen. I think that we've got a good start, a good second start. Is it not? It's not really a start. A good second.
Coming into focus.
We're coming into focus. That's a good way to put it. So let's call it there. Our special thanks to Oscar Rios, Morgan Llewellyn, and Jason Nolichok, and Zane Fleming for their participation in the workshop tonight. Be sure to watch our next episode where we will read some more of your suggestions and see what you guys think. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel and punch that bell icon for updates on our latest shows. If you'd like to support our show, visit our Patreon account. Just $1 or $2 a month helps us a lot. This is Tom Rayleigh, together with all the members of our gaming club, inviting you to journey with us once again into the darkness for another adventure into the universe of H.P. Lovecraft and the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. Until next time, good luck and good gaming.